Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of The Conversation. And today I got a really hot topic for you guys. And the title is, will Paul George and Kawhi Leonard go beast mode in these playoffs when they get back? So that's what I want to get into in this video today. But before I get into that, make sure you guys go ahead and check out the Dreamerspro Podcast that we have linked in the description below. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. We're trying to get to as many likes on all these videos that we put up so a lot of people can go out there and see them, because the YouTube algorithm loves the like button. So make sure you guys don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and check out our Dreamerspro Short Clips channel, which is also in the description below. We got a lot of unseen content a lot of you guys have not seen, so make sure you go and check out the Dreamerspro Short Clips channel. Now, with that being said, let's get straight into the topic today. So, as I said, the question is, will Kawhi Leonard and Paul George go beast mode? Now, let me just tell you guys the reason why I got the inspiration to do this topic in the first place. Now, it's right now as I'm doing this video, I've been hearing a lot of news about the NBA, starting to open up, and it looks like most likely we're going to have an NBA season. Now, if you guys have been following the channel for the past 2 months or past, let's say 5 to 6 weeks, I've been saying that I've been really optimistic that we're going to have an NBA season. Some of you guys have been a little bit pessimistic. Others have been on the other side. But I've always sort of contended that I thought that the NBA season was going to come back. I think that things were going to begin to normalize. I mean, here I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. They're beginning to slowly open up the country, and things are slowly starting to normalize again. And with that, I had a feeling that the NBA season is most likely going to come back. And Adam Silver just recently said he's going to allow teams to start opening up practice facilities, which means that we have a real chance of having a playoffs and seeing this epic NBA season come to a resounding conclusion. Now, before I get even further into that, let's talk about where the Western Conference seeding was before this global pandemic broke out. Last time we were watching basketball, the Lakers had the number 1 seed with a 49-14 record, just coming off of beating the LA Clippers, who are the in-town rivals. The Clippers are at the number 2 seed with the 44-20 record, and behind them you have the Denver Nuggets at the with 43 wins and 22 losses, and then you have the Jazz, and in between there you have all the other teams like the Houston Rockets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Mavericks, and the Grizzlies. And the 8th seed, a lot of teams are still jockeying for that 8th seed. But whatever it is, these are the standings that we last left the NBA in when we last saw games. Now, when the season comes back, I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Are we going to have maybe 10 or 15 additional games just to get the players' legs under them? Because I think there were about 20 games to go in the regular season. I don't know. But in my opinion, I think the players are probably going to get about 10 games just to get a little bit of rhythm, knock off the rust, get back into game speed before the playoffs start. Because if they just started the playoffs like that, there's a high probability that the basketball play will be a little bit sloppy, and maybe players might end up getting injured. So I don't think that the NBA is going to just say, okay, let's go straight to the playoffs. I don't believe that's going to happen. Now, let's get back to the crux of this question, or the crux of this topic. Will Kawhi Leonard and Paul George go beast mode? Let me first start off with Paul George, and I'm not going to get into the stats that he's putting up in the regular season for the Los Angeles Clippers, because Paul George has been injured, so his numbers are a little bit misleading. Last time he was in the playoffs last season, I'm going to talk about the playoff production that Paul George put up last season and what Kawhi Leonard put up last season, and I'm going to project forward. So last season in the playoffs, Paul George played for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I think at that time he was still nursing some type of ailment. He averaged 41 minutes a game. He averaged 28.6 points a game. That's what he was scoring. He shot 43.6% from the field. He shot 32% from the three-point line. He shot 81.6% from the free throw line, and he got you about 8.6 rebounds and 3.6 assists and 1.4 steals. Those are really good numbers if you look at Paul George. And I think it's an indication of his potential to play in the playoffs, because the year before he actually raised his production the last year in the playoffs, comparing him to the year before, because last year he only averaged 25 points a game in the playoffs. He shot 40% from the field, so he was able to raise his level of productivity, and he played just one more minute more the following season in the playoffs. So it looked like he was beginning to hit his stride, and looking at these numbers, it's safe to say that Paul George has everything in his arsenal to do extremely well in the playoffs and go into his own playoff mode. Now, I'm going to talk about Kawhi Leonard's production, and then I'm going to talk about how I think these two guys are going to mesh together in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard last season played 39 minutes a game. He averaged 30.5 points, which is the third highest average in the playoffs behind LeBron James and Michael Jordan. He shot 49% from the field. He shot 38% from the three-point line. I mean, these numbers are insane. He shot 88.4% from the free throw line. He got you 9.1 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and 1.7 steals. And he was the only player to lead the playoffs in points, rebounds, and I think it was steals in the entire playoffs. So that's just a testament to Kawhi Leonard's beast mode and his capabilities as a finals MVP. And there, after I just read you guys these stats, it's clear to see why so many teams in the offseason were really vying for his services and really, really clamoring to have them on their roster. Now, let's go a step further and let me explain to you why I think these guys have a really good chance to go into beast mode in the playoffs, and I think that they're going to be able to really play well off of each other. The first thing is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, their skill sets complement each other and they can play off each other very well. What do I mean? Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are very good catch and shooters. They don't need the ball to be dominant. They don't have a high usage rate. If you look at someone like James Harden's usage rate is very, very high. He usually gets it to his dribble moves, and then you know what he's either going to do. He's either going to try to go around you, blow by you, or hit his step back three-pointer. Whereas Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are much more dynamic scorers. Number one, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are most lethal with a live dribble. They can come off a curl screen, come off, catch the ball, and immediately attack. They don't waste a lot of energy. They don't over dribble. They don't waste a lot of, run a lot of time off the clock. They're very efficient. They're both great spot up 3-point shooters. Kawhi Leonard is an extremely gifted and fundamentally sound post-offensive player, which allows him to draw in a lot of double teams, but also Paul George can create a lot of spacing with his ability to hit the open three-point shot, which is the same, and Paul George has the exact same ability that Kawhi Leonard has, although I think the fact that Kawhi Leonard is a little bit stronger, a little bit heavier, although 1 inch shorter than Paul George, I think him and Paul George are still going to be able to, the Clippers are still going to be able to feature a similar offense with both of them when running the offense through both of them. That's another thing. Number two, both of these guys are extremely good at defense on the ball, which allows one of them to be able to pick up the other team's best offensive player and allow the other player to be sort of like a roamer who can try to get steals and deflections in the passing lanes. And Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can do that at a very high level because of their defensive awareness and their abilities to anticipate. Just on the defensive end, they can anticipate what the offensive player is doing. There's so many highlights out there that you guys can go out and see where you see Paul George and Kawhi Leonard just getting steals and playing defense, hellacious defense on these teams out on these teams out there. And before the break, you were seeing them beginning to hit their defensive stride. You saw the number that they did on the Houston Rockets, who are one of the highest scoring teams and probably the best scorer in basketball. In James Harden, they were able to neutralize that team playing small ball. Now, another thing, a key component for this thing to work, I think Paul George needs to be the Scottie Pippen to Kawhi Leonard, okay, so to speak. You guys are watching this Last Dance documentary, and you see how well Scottie Pippen plays off of Michael Jordan. He's sort of like a point forward, and that's where that whole thing sort of originated from. And I think Paul George can do that same thing because he's a really good playmaker. He has the length, he has a handle to break down the defenders, get the balls, get to open shooters. So he has that ability, and I think he needs to sort of play a similar role to Kawhi. With Kawhi, I don't think he's going to lead the Clippers in scoring because I don't believe he's their number one option. Although, as you saw in the last meeting between him and the Los Angeles Lakers, he's shown the ability to drop 30 points in a game if given the opportunity, and he's a really sensational scorer. So I think with all of these things working in the favor of the Clippers and the ability for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to play off of each other and to be really two complementary pieces to one another, I think that's going to bode really, really well for them in the playoffs. And I think they will go into beast mode when these playoffs come back, just for the simple fact that they have something to prove. They made a big splash. Kawhi Leonard went and put out all of those commercials saying it's Kawhi Town and all of this stuff. And I think he's going to have that added motivation to go out there and really seize this crown and just snatch it again. I mean, although he's the current reigning champion, but to go out there and prove it again and win his third title and with a third team. So that's what I think is going to happen when the season resumes and the playoffs begin. But what I want to know from you guys is, do you think that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are going to go into beast mode, or do you think something else is going to happen? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and check out the Dreamerspro Podcast. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace. Catch you guys on the next episode.